We are going to be creating a ReactJS app from scratch. You can inject it into an already existing web page using these script tags, but we're going to do one from scratch using NPM, specifically npx within NPM. If you don't know what NPM is, you probably don't have it installed. You need NodeJS in order to get NPM, in order to get npx. And so there's a link in the description below to NodeJS, as well as a video I did explaining NodeJS and NPM. Just quickly, NodeJS is just a way of executing JavaScript outside of an internet browser. So again, in order to get NPM, you need NodeJS installed. And so with that installed, once you've installed that, go to your command line. I'm using Windows, so I'm using a command line. If you're using Linux, Unix, using a bash terminal, create any sort of directory you want to install the ReactJS app into, and then we're just going to hit npx, create React app, and then the name of our app. I'm going to name mine my app like this. So npx is going to go out, it's going to download and install the necessary files in order to get a ReactJS app up and running. So now that we have it installed, let's actually get it up and running. So navigate to the folder you installed it in. Mine was cd my app, and we're going to hit npm start like that. So it's just going to spin up a server, and it's going to serve the ReactJS up on that server. I think it's port 3000. It'll automatically pop up a web page for you. So npm start, it's going to spin up the server, and I think I'm using Google Chrome as my default. There we go, localhost 3000. So this is just going to be what the most, well, not the most, we're going to get to that in a second, what the boilerplate basic ReactJS app looks like. And so this is it. This is their logo spinning, and they've written their message for us, learn React, redirects to reactjs.org. So let's go to the backend and see what they've installed for us. So here we go, my app, and this is all of it. We have a node modules folder. This is NPM. This is not React. This is a package manager. It's required. We have their public folder and their source folder, and we have all these files within their folders. We have the git ignore, which is for GitHub repositories. We have the package.json, which is for NPM. We have a README, and then we have yarn, which is another version or another different type of package manager. So all of these files create this front end right here. But what files do we need to have, or what files do we not need to have in order to get the most basic, slimmed down, efficient, streamlined, functioning ReactJS app? So what I'm going to do right now is just going to go to the back end and start deleting, destroying files, and we're going to see what we need, like the most bare bones file system in order to get a ReactJS app up and running. So let's go to the back end. Now let's start destroying some files. There are icons. Let's destroy that. Their logos, take that out. Their manifest.json, we'll keep that. Robots.txt, I don't know what that is. I'll delete that. CSS, their custom stylings, delete that. Their custom test files, we'll delete that. Again, CSS, take that out. Logos, their service worker, we'll take that out as well. Any sort of testing. Their README, let's take that out. So now we're left with all of these guys here. So let's control save. The great thing about this server is once you save it, it automatically refreshes the server. So let's go back to our page and see if we have, we do not have a ReactJS up and running. Now we destroyed all their files. We need to destroy any reference to their files in the back end. So I'm going to go back to the back end, and we're going to go file by file, and we're going to take out any sort of reference to service workers or icons or logos. So let's go index.html. Line 1, any sort of reference to their logos or icons. Line 5 we can take out, that was an icon. Line 11 is a reference to their logo, we can take that out. Manifest.json, we'll keep that. It's metadata when our web app is installed on a user's mobile device. That's not necessary, but we'll just keep it. And that's good for the index.html. Manifest.json, short name's good, any sort of reference to the icons, so we'll destroy all of that. And manifest.json's okay. Let's go to the app.js. There's a reference to a logo here. Delete that. Reference to CSS. We'll delete that. And there's a reference to a logo here. Delete that. There's a reference to their class name, href, target. We'll delete this link right here. And let's do the index.js. Reference to CSS, delete that. Reference to their service work up here, line 4, we'll delete that. We can delete this guy right here. Let's save and see if we have a ReactJS app up and running. And we do. Let's modify this message to our front end. let's go back to app.js and we'll take this out and we'll just say bare bones ReactJS app up and running like that. And we'll take this out of the header. Just do a paragraph. Format, save, go back to our page, and we have, voila, the most bare bones, essential, slim, downsized, functioning React.js app. Basically 3 files. So I'm going to go back to the backend. I'm going to explain how those 3 files interact with each other. So again, this manifest.json was for like mobile app metadata. That's not really needed. What's needed is index.html, app.js, index.js. Let me put it in a specific order. And so index.html is like any other index.html. It provides an HTML structure for the front end. Specifically, they give us this div with ID root. This is where we're going to render, or where React.js renders all of its HTML into. So we need a div with ID root. Let me just do this. I like it like that. There we go. ID root. And so in index.js, what we're doing is we're injecting our React.js into document.getElementByIdRoot, which is that div. And this app right here is a component. You could think of the app, which is this app.js right here, as the entry point or the gateway point of your React.js app. This app is a component, and we use it just like XML or HTML, a custom component. It happens to be named app, and this is the custom component here. Div class name app, a paragraph bare bones, and the closing divs, and we export the default app, and that again just renders this to the front end. And so any sort of React.js app that we write is going to be funneled through this app component, which gets hooked into or injected into our index.html with this line here. And our index.html gives us a div from in which to do all of that stuff. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a custom function, just like they created a custom function called app. This didn't need to be called app. It could have been called that, but they called it app. We create a custom function or a custom component. I'm going to inject it into app, and that app's going to inject it into the page. Now you don't need to, and in fact, it's best practice is not to create all of your components in this app file, or else the file would be like 3,000 lines long. So best practice is to create a new folder. We're going to create it within source. I'm going to create a new folder called components. So these are going to be my custom components. And within that, I'm going to create a component called, I'm going to call mine welcome header. Again, you can name your components whatever you want, but best practices is camel case, so capital W and the capital H .js. And there are 2 types of components. I'll get to what they are in a different video, not this video. But just understand there are 2 types of components you can write: function components and class components. The main differences being syntax and state. Right now, I'm going to keep it simple, so I'm just going to do a functional component. Don't worry too much about the syntax. This video is not about functions and components and class components and syntax. It's just how this thing's structured, the workflow of a React.js app. So I'm going to say import React from React, like that. Basically, I'm just mimicking what they did with this functional component right here. So function, and I named my custom component welcome header, like that. Parentheses, you write it just like any sort of JavaScript function. So you need the parentheses. And then we're going to return what's to be rendered to the front screen. And mine is just going to be a div. Let's say div like that. And it's going to be an H4. I'm just going to say welcome. Let's say welcome Rex like this, and close H4 like H4 like that. And then again, all this is just JavaScript I'm writing right now. Export default, welcome header. So I've just written all of this is JavaScript. The JSX part, I didn't explain JSX, did I? So there are 2 different languages within React. We have vanilla JavaScript, which is all of this stuff. They have their own custom language called JSX. JSX is like XML. It's this guy right here. This is considered, all of this is considered JavaScript except this guy. This guy's considered React.js, which is like custom XML tags, HTML tags. So I created a custom component, a custom XML component or JSX component, what React calls JSX. I'm going to import that into our entry file or entry point or gateway file. So I'm going to say import. And you can name this, again, whatever you want, but for consistency, I'm going to say welcome header from, and in that it was components / welcome header. You don't need the JS, but I like to add that in. And now I'm going to actually use that JSX component in the app. So when they render the class name div, I want to put the header above this paragraph here. I don't like the way this looks. Do that. So in order to use it like any sort of HTML tag. So welcome header and self-closing just like that. So we save, we go back to the front end and we see welcome Rex. This is our custom function component. This is all ReactJS is. All of this talking, this is all it is. It's a templating system. So you create these simple or complex components, your custom components, and you write it once, and that allows you to put it anywhere in your app multiple times. Doesn't matter. What is this? Delete, 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 delete. I can do something like this. We save, we go back to the front end, and we get that. A basic templating system that's more robust. We'll get to how robust it is in future videos, but again, this is all it is. You create custom components, either functional or class, and then you use them throughout your app. So I'm going to delete this, clean this up. Now, what I'm going to do before I end this video is I'm going to show you how props are passed. This is one of the major reasons to use ReactJS. It's how it's more robust than Pug or Jade. And so app is the parent of, I'm writing down here on line 1819, app is the parent of welcome header. So I'm going to do something in app to get some data. I'm going to pass it down as a prop into welcome header, and then welcome header is going to display it in its own little render, its own little return statement here. And so do not worry too much about the code. That's not the point. The point I just want to show you right now is how this workflow happens, how this prop management happens. So I'm going to convert this guy into a class, app, extends react.component. I'm going to need a constructor for this class. And again, this is basic JavaScript. This is how you create a class in JavaScript. None of this is JSX right now. Constructor, let's call super on that to run the parent class, and then we'll do a this.state is equal to name blank, and then we need a render on this guy. Render is a function, put the return in the render, you format that. And on component did mount, we're going to run a function. So in component did mount, we are going to run a function. I'm going to need a random number. So random number is equal to 1 plus math.ceil. That's still math.random. And let's go 0 to 7. Like that. And we're going to do a fetch call. So I'm going to paste this code from my Scratchpad. So all we're going to do when this app component gets injected into the page, it's going to go to this API. This API just gives me back some dummy data. I'm going to extract a name out of that dummy data, and then I'm going to pass it down into the welcome header down here. So let me properly code this. So API uses random, perfect JSON state to res data first name. Data first name is in the name, right? Perfect. All right, so to inject or to pass down props, we can just pass down into our welcome header down here, line 23. We're going to pass the prop name. We don't need to name it name. We can name it, again, like that. For consistency, we'll say name is equal to. And so all of what I'm writing right now is JavaScript except this part here. Once you want to, if you want to inject JavaScript into JSX, you need these curly braces. So without that, all of this is JSX. This line 23, that's JSX. This is JSX. This is JSX. This is JSX. This is JSX. Anything in here is now JavaScript. So for their name, I'm going to pass them down the random name we got. And to use that in welcome header, the parent or the child gets passed down something called props, like this. And instead of Rex, we're going to inject props dot. We're going to need, there we go, props dot, and it was name like this. So now when we save, again, I'm just showing you workflow, how ReactJS works from passing props from parents to children. We go back to our page, we hit refresh, and every time we hit refresh, it's going to go into that API. It's going to get some data. From that data, I'm going to take a first name. That all happens in the app, the parent. The parent then passes that data, the name, down to the child, which is the welcome header. And that welcome header displays that name. So this is how prop passing works in ReactJS. And all of that happens with these three main files. Index.html, which provides the basic HTML root that you know if you're coming from JavaScript web development. It provides for us a div root. Into the div root, we inject the JSX component app that's written for us from the boilerplate ReactJS app. That's this guy here. We can create custom components. We created a custom function component like that. We imported it into our gateway app, and then we used it in the gateway app on this line 23 right here. So that's going to be it for this video. Just wanted to detail how React works, how to get one up and running, the workflow, the data flow of a ReactJS app. Don't forget to give a like, share, comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.